Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we're looking at news about the limited pack GX Osiris Red, and within this it contains quite a few cards that have the ability to be used within the Yu-Gi-Oh GX Season 1 and are animation based cards such as from Animation Chronicles that are supporting various characters. So the first one is called Conduction Warrior Linear Magnum. It's an Earth attribute, Rock type, level 7 with 2700 attack and 1300 defense. It cannot be normal summoned or set, and must first be special summoned from your hand by sending 2 Magnet Warrior monsters whose original level is 4 or lower from your hand, deck and or face-up field to the graveyard. You can only special summon Conduction Warrior Linear Magnum once per turn, this way. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. You can target one other Earth monster on the field. This card gains attack equal to half that monster's until the end of this turn. And 2, if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, add it to your hand. This card was used by Bastion Misawa. It was, I think, featured within the Duel episode 35, 36, around the point where he was dueling against Tanya, who ended up being the Amazonas Tiger, just with this special medallion she was given that made her into a human. She was one of the 7 Shadow Riders, and this card was used alongside some other cards which were Magnet Warrior style monsters but were different from your Alpha, Beta and Gamma. Those cards have yet to be featured or introduced into the game, so I'm assuming at some point, if this is going to be part of this pack, those cards will also be featured at a later stage. Its summoning condition isn't actually too difficult as compared to the other cards, which happen to be the Valkyrian, the other version which was also a level 8 monster, as those require quite a few costs. This one happens to be quite easy to summon. It just needs 2 Magnet Warrior monsters who happen to be level 4 or lower, and they can be gotten rid of from your resources, whether it be from the hand, the deck, or face-up field to the graveyard. Therefore, you don't actually have to use any resources you currently have, and it's a good way of cheating out monsters in the future or recovering those cards back from the graveyard into the hand. The first ability allows this card to gain attack points equal to half an Earth attribute monster you have on the field. Fantastic thing is it doesn't sap that monster's attack points, because you would assume it would have maybe halved that other monster's attack points to boost its own, but actually it just adds on to this card's attack points. It lasts only until the end phase, but that's really all you need it for. The other good thing is it's not specific to Magnet Warriors, and so it can actually be paired with other archetypes, provided they are attributes. The Vernus Life monsters work within attribute supporting style of theme, and so would pair quite well with this. Often those cards have other boosting effects, such as being able to allow your monsters to attack twice in a turn, double their attack points, recover Earth attribute monsters, and that all works within the combined theming. Second ability, if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, add it to your hand. Now, the monster has to be destroyed, so that can be a bit of an issue, as there are ways of getting rid of this card without needing to do that. You can remove it from play, return it to the deck, or actually return it to the opponent's hand quite simply. But the good thing is, it doesn't have to be through your opponent destroying this card. You can actually destroy this card yourself, and there are other means of doing that through your own card effects, whilst also gaining certain effects and bonuses. This next card is called Chaos Distill. This was used by the 7th Shadow Rider, and that was the Professor, who was also in charge of the Slifer Red Dawn. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I know his alternative character name was Amnael, and his abilities were all to do with having the remove from play effects, and that was very much linked to Macrocosmos and the Helios, the primordial being. So there was Helios itself, you had Duomegistus, and you had Trismegistus. all of those gained attack points based on the various monsters you had that would banish. So this is a continuous spell. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. Any card sent to your graveyard is banished instead. And 2. You can activate one of these effects. Add 1 Macrocosmos, or 1 card that mentions it from your deck to your hand except Chaos Distill. Or if Macrocosmos is on the field, banish this face-up card from the spell and trap zone. Add 1 light monster with question mark attack from your deck to your hand. So with the first effect, any card sent to your graveyard is banished instead. That is a weaker form of Macrocosmos because it's only affecting your own cards, it's not affecting your opponents. There is a spell card which allows you to actually draw 2 cards, a bit like Pot of Greed, but only if you've got no cards in your graveyard, so the banish pile does that. Second ability lets you search for either a Macrocosmos or a card that mentions it from your deck to your hand. There are a couple of different cards that can do this. I think there's also a destruction-based card which applies whilst you've got Macrocosmos on the field, so it's a way of searching for this card. Second ability actually relates very much to the Helios monsters because they are all light attribute monsters and they have question mark attack. They go from the deck to the hand. It's quite unusual because with Macrocosmos, it lets you special summon that monster straight from the deck to the field. This is a bit weaker as this forces you to search the card, so it does have that searchability effect, but it doesn't allow you to point blank straight summon the card onto the field. That is a bit of a downside. Interesting thing as well is this works counterintuitively with other cards that can bring out those monsters much easier. For example, Nova Summoner and Shining Angel. If those monsters happen to be destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, they then allow you to summon a monster with 1500 attack or less, which happen to be light attributes, from your deck to the field. Since they have question mark attack, they're treated as they have 0 attack when they're in the deck. So there's a little bit of concern for the theming of this deck. Heroes Rule 1 5 Freedoms is a normal trap card. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. Target up to 5 cards in any graveyards, banish them. And 2. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish it, then target one of your banished elemental hero monsters, special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. If I remember correctly, this card was quite decent, and it was used by Jane Yuki. I can't remember whether this was actually in Season 1. It probably likelihood was, and I think this must have been used either in the duel against Amnael, or it was used in the duel against the Sacred Beast user at the end, who was kind of the principal of the Duel Academy. First ability just lets you target up to 5 cards in any graveyards and they get banished, so it means that cards that have a double utility in the graveyard can no longer be recovered or use their effects. The other thing is, it just disrupts how your opponent plays, as it'll be difficult for them to recover it. Second ability happens to allow you to target one of your banished elemental hero monsters, and you get to special summon it regardless of its summoning conditions. That's good if you can actually get those cards into the banish pile. Not sure necessarily how you do that outside of cards such as Miracle Fusion, but I'm sure there are other means of achieving the same goal. Archfiend Matador is a Dark Attribute Warrior type ritual effect monster. It's level 6 with 0 attack and 0 defense. You can ritual summon this card with Ritual of the Matador. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. If this card is ritual summoned, you can add 2 Archfiend cards from your deck to your hand, except Archfiend Matador. Also, this card cannot attack this turn. 2. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. And 3. If this card battles a monster, after damage calculation, destroy that monster, and if you do, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. This card was used by another of the Shadow Riders, and I believe this was Titan. Initially, Titan was a bit of a sham duelist, and he was pretty much used to try and scare Jaden to go outside of the academy. But the whole idea was to frame him into the shadow duels and to make him scared of that type of environment, only to find out later on when he lost the duel that he was being kind of absorbed by these shadow demons, and he became possessed, and he was saved by having this kind of charm put in him similar to Tanya. Within that, he then faces and duels against Alexis Rhodes, whereas his previous opponent was Jaden Yuki, for the restoration of the memory of her brother Atticus Rhodes. This happened to be the boss monster in this duel, whereas in the previous one it was the Skull Archfiend of Lightning. Its first ability, as soon as it's just ritual summoned, you get to search for 2 Archfiend cards from your deck to your hand. That's an instant plus. Only downside is that this card cannot attack during that turn. That's fine, as you're not having any additional costs, and it's perfectly easy to do, and it runs consistent to the Archfiend archetype. Second ability, it cannot be destroyed by battle, also you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. That is a fantastic effect, as not only does this prevent you from taking any battle damage, but this card is also immune from being destroyed in battle. There are other cards that have similar type of effects that may be unable to be destroyed by battle, but they'll have downsides to them. For example, you still take the battle damage, or that they must stay in attack position in order for them to be protected from being destroyed by battle. Those are both massive downsides. This is a fantastic kind of variation, and I wonder in the future whether we'll get cards such as Scab Scar Knight, which have similar type of effects. Third ability, if this card battles a monster, so that can be either you battling into your opponent's monster or vice versa, they can attack into your monster. That monster is then destroyed, and they take 1,000 points of damage. It's not too difficult to out this card, as your opponent can run things such as Skill Drain, Effect Veiler, anything towards that extent, even Breakthrough Skill, all of those types of cards, means of destroying your own cards, so that's actually a disadvantage. If this had been released at the point back when Yugioh GX was around the 2003 mark, then it would be decent. Nowadays, I think it could be a bit too forgotten. And this next card is the Ritual of the Matador. This is the ritual card that's used to ritual summon that monster, the Archfiend Matador. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. Ritual summon 1 Archfiend Matador from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand and or field, whose total levels equal 6 or more. And 2. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 non-ritual Archfiend monster from your hand. The first ability is simply just bringing this Archfiend Matador out. So long as you meet the condition of level 6 or above, that's fine. Second ability enables you to just banish this to just bring out a non-ritual Archfiend monster from your hand. There are a few higher level monsters, so you have the Skull Archfiend of Lightning, that's level 6. You do have a couple of monsters that do have weaknesses. For example, I believe the Terror King Archfiend cannot be normal summoned onto the field unless you already have an Archfiend monster already on the field. It has to be set and then kind of flip face up on the next turn. And given that it's a 2000 attack monster with 1500 defense points, you kind of want it in attack position to begin with. We also have confirmation of a few cards that are going to be kind of reprinted. It makes perfect sense, as these are very old cards and work towards the deck. So in order, we've got Winged Karibo, we've got Elemental Heroes Avian, Burstinatrix, Sparkman, Clayman, Bobbleman, Wildheart, Necroshade and Blade Edge. I can understand, based on the theming, why you would have these cards, but I would really have thought maybe the first 4 or 5 would be, maybe even including Blade Edge. But Wildheart was kind of seen to the latter stage. It was seen in the duel with the Bastion Misawa, and even I think this Necroshade was seen first pretty much quite late into Season 1. We have Ancient Gate Golem, not surprising given that that was used by Crowler. Ojama's Yellow, Green and Black. Again, this was used by Chaz Princeton. Similarly, dragons level 3, 5 and 7, they were also used by Chaz. A12 Cyber, Blade Skater, Cyber Tutu, Cyber Prima were all used by Alexis Rhodes. Steamroid, Drillroid were both used by Cyrus Truesdale. Cyber Dragon is the card used most famously by Zane Truesdale, Cyrus's older brother. Des Koala, Des Kangaroo, Big Koala. Those three cards were used by, I can't remember the name, but I think it was something Huffington, and he was a friend of both Cyrus Jaden. Hydreigon, Oxygen, and Water Dragon were all used by Bastion Misawa. This was first introduced within the qualifier duel between Bastion and Jaden to see if who would be promoted to the next storm up. So if Bastion had won, he would have become a Obelisk Blue. If Jaden had won, he would have become a Ra Yellow. Helios, the Primordial Sun, that was used by Amnael. Elemental Heroes, Flame Wingman, Thunder Giant, Tempest, Wildledge, and Shining Flare Wingman were used by Jaden Yuki. Cyberblade by Alexis Rhodes, Cyber Twin Dragon and Cyber End Dragon by Zane Truesdale. Master of Oz by Huffington. Miracle Fusion by Skyscraper were used by Jaden. Power Bond by Zane. Future Fusion was used by Zane. Bonding H2 was used by Bastion, and Macrocosmos was used by Amnael.